Hello, everyone. I am so excited. We are starting our March series with a wonderful, wonderful guest. But I am so excited to have this wonderful woman. This is March, guys. Can you believe it? The year's going by so fast. And
Right.
it's Women's History Month. Woo! So
Yes.
I'll be featuring some wonderful, wonderful, fabulous women who've overcome so many things, who are really doing so much for people in their community. And some of them are even entrepreneurs. So we'll be looking at some of those women today from March, which is Women's History Month, celebrating great women. There's so many good women out there doing some amazing things. So happy Women's History Month, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Last month, we had some awesome speakers. So please check out, I'm going to be posting those clips up there of some of those speakers. Powerful, powerful things that were said. Check them out. Like, subscribe to my YouTube page, Jean-Baptiste. Okay, don't forget to do that. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guest, Pastor Briggitte Brown.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I am good, girl.
So
Good.
I want to just say I've been knowing your husband since we were young, right? Okay.
Right.
So yes, and I'm so happy he married such a wonderful woman like yourself.
I'm so glad he did too.
Yes. He's a wonderful young man. He's pastored churches. I've seen him really becoming involved in the community. He's also a car dealer, among other things.
Everything.
Yes, I've seen
out there.
Yes, he's the hustle man. You know what I'm saying? That's right. That's what New York gives you, the hustle. Just so excited with what God has done with both of you guys live. But I just want to start off. What made me really want to invite you for Women's History Month and kind of celebrate you is because you have such an awesome story. You have overcome so much. But I must say, one of the things that I admire the most about you is when you were fighting cancer, right? And I'm telling you, I didn't think there was one day I saw a negative post from you. You were like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do this today. I'm grateful for this. Like, it was like, I was like, this is what everybody needs. You know? Tell me about that journey.
So
yes, please.
So for me, the journey was it was very scary, right? Yes. But I had to, the day that I received the diagnosis, like it was official. And even before it was like official, I said, well, you know what, until it's validated, until they can validate that this is what it is, I'm not even going to receive it. And I put myself in this mode of positivity, positive energy. I tapped into like instructions that God had given me for releasing unforgiveness and bitterness. I had a lot of emotional things that were kind of coming up for me. And I was really in a place of surrenderance and a place of humility. But honestly, that whole cancer journey was the best thing that happened to me, right? Because it shifted me from this path that I was on that really didn't suit me and put me right where God wanted me. And it was like, you know, I'm hard-headed, so I think that he needed my attention. And, you know, he used cancer to waken me up. But I feel like a lot of the emotional things that I was dealing with manifested in the form of cancer.
Oh, I just have to stop you right there, because I often say that a lot of the things that dealing with heart attack, heart disease, cancer, it's really, I really believe that it's some unresolved emotional things, right? Yes,
it's all interrelated, because God, I always say we are a spirit living in a physical body, and we encompass a soul. So all those three areas, dynamics that we are, is what balances us and keeps us open and manifesting, right? But when we are just either focusing on our spiritual and only focusing on our soul, or only focusing on our physical, we're out of balance. So I was neglecting, you know, I was in church, I'm a pastor, doing all this stuff with the spiritual part, but I'm neglecting my body, eating however I was eating. I was neglecting my soul, not really dealing with the emotions, not really dealing with the mental, not really resting, giving my body the things that it needed. So that was like a recipe for disaster. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. But thank God for his grace and mercy.
Amen. I'm
He didn't let
loving
me
it,
die
sis.
in that, girl.
Yes.
But it was definitely what I learned out of my journey was just amazing. And like now he's bringing it right back around to us, for me, learning who this Briggitte is, and learning how to continue to maintain that that path that I was on, because
Yeah.
we take pit stops and we just kind of start slacking in areas and things, and this is what life is all about. We're a whole cycle, learning your patterns and then learning from them.
I love that. I want to say that it's so important, because I think that people, sometimes we get to a place in God where we think we're above the fray, right? That we're untouchable, right? We're like, well, I know God. I know who God is. Da, 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 da. And then we look at, history, statistics, what's going on in the world right now. It's the pastors that's dying from cancer. It's the people who work in the church. It's the us saved people who know how to call on God and tap into his power. That's really struggling. And sometimes it's not until we have those afflictions that we really begin to see the power of God. You know?
So what I've learned with having the spiritual dynamics and the clinical dynamics is that it is the same, right? So all these demons that we be reaching out and casting out and all of that are manifestations of what the mental clinical part is. And when I started going to school for my master's, I'm sitting in class and I'm like reading all these different diagnoses. I'm like, okay, well, I see these demons all the time.
Yes.
So why aren't we like we're casting them out, but there's a deeper level that God is showing me of trauma, of like the brain dynamics that we don't talk about in the church. We just deal with the spirit, but we're neglecting the mental stuff. One, a lot of people don't understand it, don't get it, and we demonize everything. But it's so important to understand the mental part of a person in order for clear deliverance to take place within a person, because you got to get to the root of the matter. And a lot of times we don't get to the root. We just deal with the symptoms.
Yeah. So good. So good. I am a big component of dealing with the root of the issue. Even when I teach in my literature class, I teach analysis. I say, you got to get to the root of the issue before you can even begin to analyze it. Right. And I love, I kind of laugh at God and what he does, because even though I know it was a scary journey for you, you were able to take something that was so physical and really use your work in school to see how it relates to mental health. Right. And mental health has become such a big topic for me, especially in this year and last year. I've been talking about it all throughout my program. What does it mean for you? I know you went to school for it, but what are you seeing in the mental health thing that you really, how do you mix that in the spirit?
So, luckily, or, God has given me my private practice. So in my private practice, in my office, I could talk about whatever.
That's right.
Present it. However, if I do market myself as a pastor, and licensed clinical social worker, so a lot of people seek me out for spiritual support, and because that's part of their goals, I incorporate biblical foundations within our sessions. Whereas if you work at a secular organization, you got to leave God out of it. So I definitely use the spiritual component to help create a foundation so that people who are in despair, people who are depressed, if we say, just tap into yourself. Well, if your belief system of yourself is that you're not worthy, that you're a loser, that nobody cares, then you're not really going to get much outcome in that.
That's right.
If you base it on a higher power, then in that case, now, and in my case, I can only preach out the Bible, right?
Right.
So my higher power is Jesus Christ. So a lot of the teachings come out of biblical principles. Greater is he who's in me than he that is in the world. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, these are affirmations, positive affirmations that you can say to yourself every day. And when you keep saying it, you start rewiring your brain to overcome those negative spaces. And that was the same tools that I used during my cancer journey. And it was like, listen, I am healed, that God has a purpose for me. I'm worthy of love, and really getting to that foundation. And in the church, what I teach, I mean, and that's the advantage of, being a pastor, is that I do have a lot of influence, but I do teach the importance of mental health counseling. And I understand that there is a huge disparity between services and the African-American community and the brown community. But a lot of that comes from, like, why wouldn't we be hesitant for services? You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't we be hesitant for to trust man for things that we're seeking God for? But I highlight the importance of Christians, us within the body, becoming physicians and providing holistic health, becoming social workers, and really providing mental health services. Like, all this stuff is out there for us to grab and to take, or becoming entrepreneurs and business. Like, we have businesses within us. But a lot of us lack the belief. And there are a lot of course, disparities within systematic barriers that keep us from pursuing higher education. But where there's a will, God will make a way for us and open that path for us.
I love that. One of my favorite scriptures is faith without works is dead. And I think a lot of times the church has so much relied on the spirituality or the religion doing the work, or this magical God that's going to drop this bomb down and he's going to come out and we're going to do it. But really, it's up to us to do the work, right? And so I think faith is great. I have so much faith, but I'm also like taking steps too, right?
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, God, take 2 steps, take 2 more for me, and then I'm gonna take the other 4.
And He'll give us the grace and to overcome every obstacle. But it's hard work. It's hard work to stay present in the healing journey, like every day. Like, healing is not linear. It's not like, from start to finish. It's like different pitfalls, and you're healed in one area and you're not healed in this area. And then that's discouraging, because you think you're gaining victory in this area and you realize, like, oh
God, I still got to deal with this.
Right. But that's part of the journey. And it's not based on yours or mine. It's we all have our individual path. And I think it's important, like, even within the church, we think that we get saved and then we just maintain salvation. Like, it's hard to maintain salvation, just like it is hard to maintain a diet. And it's hard to maintain not cussing. It's hard to maintain not lying all the time. Like, all of that takes work. And a lot of people give up on that, or they compare their journey to other people.
Ooh, so good.
Right. And then we bring judgment and condemnation, and all that stuff is not God. All that stuff is.
I love that. I was speaking to a girlfriend, and she's like, Charlotte, tell me how you overcame your trauma. And I was like, the truth is that my trauma was a journey that I'm always constantly checking myself and rehealing myself and rehealing and rehealing. I don't think anybody just overcomes and now I'm, whole. And then
it's done.
It doesn't work like that. And when I was speaking to Dr. Faith Brown, when we were talking the other day, one thing she said is that even as you are healed, you have to do some work. Right. Because it doesn't just stop when you're healed, because brokenness is always there waiting in the wings. You know what I'm saying?
And that's exactly, and that's the part of this journey that I'm on, that when I was going through the cancer, I feel like God paused everything. He was like, you know what, let this chick just focus on getting herself healed, following these instructions. And the minute I came out of it, it was in January 2020 was my like praise report.
I remember you putting it up there.
I was like, yes. And then 6 months later, August 15, I found out some news that was related to something that I engaged in when I was 18 years old.
Jesus.
And that thing, now mind you, I prayed to the Lord. I got saved. I've been saved since I was 18. So I'm like, everything's covered under the blood.
Yes.
All the spiritual quotes that we be putting, like, God forgives you from the east to the west.
Yes.
And all is done.
Yes.
So here I am in victory. And this truth that no one was aware of comes to surface. And I was like, why would you? I was mad. I'm like, God, why would you bring this up now?
Because the devil is trying you. I'm
like, why would this come up 23 years later? And when I tell you that I had the biggest relapse in healing, like emotional, I spiraled right down to that point where I was emotionally 2 years prior, before the cancer started. And girl, I've been fighting my way out of that. And God is like, you know what? This is all part of healing. Like, you couldn't fully, first of all, I allowed this to come out now because you and your husband are able to overcome this. Like, y'all went through so much. Like, this is not unto death. That's what God was telling me when I was in cancer, and even now with the emotional healing that's taking place. And he said that the same pattern, the same thought process comes right back around to test us.
Yes.
To see if what we acquired really is solidified within us.
So good.
So it's not about getting discouraged when, like you said, like you go right back, like it's different layers, because we don't really, in the church, we're not really preaching all the way right.
Right.
Because it's different layers and it's different experiences for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a clean cut, grew up in the church testimony. I always say I was a heathen.
Yes.
I grew up with witchcraft.
You and me both, girl.
In the streets. When I came into Potter's Clay ministry, I was pregnant with Debbie. I was broken, and I just had so much trauma that I just said, listen, if I don't do this, I'm gonna try to take my life again.
Yeah.
Because the first time didn't work. And I said I couldn't do that because I had this baby in my belly.
Yeah.
But God took me, and every aspect of my life, like I could see him shining. And so that's why we are overcomers.
Yes.
If we haven't overcome one area, we overcame others.
Yes.
So we just gotta stay like prayerful. We gotta stay committed to our process and being patient. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because God is in everything. And
that's right.
There's nothing new under the sun for him.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is not new. He's like,
no,
this was coming during this time at this point. And, I'll be glad when I could just release my testimony through this process, because my testimony is actually connected to other people.
Yes.
So we all kind of healing together through this.
Yes. Process. Yes.
Girl, I just love who God is in my life. And knowing that I do have that firm foundation in him allows me to stand and continue to be a living witness.
Oh, I love that. I want to talk about ministry because I think it's so important. You and your husband actually work in ministry together.
Yes.
And I was so proud. You know, he was always doing stuff for the community, giving
Right.
away stuff, cars and money and houses. You know, that's his heart. He has a service heart.
He is a giver.
Yes, he's a giver. And you guys also have children together. How many children?
Yes.
I know you have grands and
We got 7 with our adopted daughter, who's
love it.
how old is Ashley? She like 29, girl. Yeah, she's 29 because she
Woo, I love it.
Elijah is 26. Debbie's about to be 24. Genesis is 18. Shemuel is 13. Mi Amor is 12.
Wow.
And then we got a little miracle baby, Amina.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I remember when you got pregnant with Amina.
Listen, she has a destiny. She got a story in her own mouth.
Yes.
Because I had a tubal ligation. So it was a 0.1% chance.
Right.
To have a baby.
Jesus.
Came 3 months later. And my husband has said, don't do that. Don't, tie your tubes because you playing with God. And Bishop Wiley would come up and say, God, all he got to do is untangle those tubes. And I was like, stop, because I ain't nobody carrying these babies.
Right.
And I was like, we done. At that point, we had 5. I'm like, yo, we good. God had another
plan. Oh my God, really a miracle baby. I love it. And you have some grandchildren too.
Yeah, so then we have Elijah has Elisa, who's actually 19 days older than Amina.
Oh, that's wonderful. So they grow up together.
They grow up God knew he needed to send a sidekick.
Yes.
Now she was gonna be neglected.
Right.
And Ashley has 2 kids. A little girl and a little boy. So
that's wonderful.
That's the next generation.
Yes.
They're growing up together.
Yes. I want to talk about that. Raising children, being in ministry with your husband.
Right.
What has been some of the ups and downs of that?
So me and my husband have this conversation at every gathering with Elijah and Debbie and Genesis, right? Because the parents that Rasheen and I were to the older kids is not the same.
I believe that.
With the little ones. So it was so Elijah and Debbie were always very resentful about the church because the church took a lot of time away from their growing.
Yeah.
We did everything together. I remember one Father's Day, the kids wanted to present Dad with their gift at home. I don't want to present it in front of the church.
Yeah.
Our dad. Or they feel some type of way. Genesis still does this. Like, that's not your dad. Because, they be calling my husband dad or me mom.
Yeah.
And I started kind of moving away from that just to respect my kids and give them that space because they're very possessive. Yeah. But a lot of gaps were made. Us being young and us also being pastors, the church took a lot of energy to build from scratch. And the kids saw a lot of people use the church, talk about their parents, just slander. And it caused, especially Elijah and Debbie, kind of a lot of resentment and even challenge their belief. With they didn't want to be associated with church. They don't like God, you know what I'm saying? But all that church stuff and being
they're like, I'm not for it, right?
We're not for it. But with Genesis, because she came in after Jenny, Shemi, Mia, and Amina, we raised them as kids, not pastors.
Yeah, so different.
So it's different when we put a lot of expectations on Elijah and Debbie to be pastors' kids, and I was like, shoot, I don't even want to be a pastor,
right?
You know what I mean? I don't want to have that title. I just want to be me.
Yes,
and I could be me and still be saved. I could be me and still be in the church, but I had to learn that for myself. And then when I started getting it, by the time Jenny was a teenager, I'm like, girl, you could go to that prom.
Yeah.
You can go hang out with your friends. You could go to the movies, just keep contact,
Yes, totally.
you know who you are. you know what your values are. So just trust that instead of
Yes.
harboring and keeping them in like we did with Elijah and Debbie, and they grew very resentful. So
Yeah.
and you know, the church is not very nice.
Yes.
They're not nice,
No.
and they don't play nice, and they didn't really respect the boundaries either. So,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot they didn't respect the boundaries because we didn't really put the boundaries up. We didn't respect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Right. So we had to learn, and we've had a lot of healing conversations, a lot of, you know, crying and just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, forgiveness extended, because they really struggled with that.
That's
But
good. I love
we
that. You know, I
got
was
to
a
learn that.
pastor's kid too. But it was mostly with my father, and I felt like I was always in church, you know.
Right,
And
right,
sometimes there's a balance, you know, and then my mom was, you know, she's not like this way now, but when growing up, she was like, no, you can't do this because it's not, you
right,
know, and it was I felt like, oh my God, I'm not
right,
gonna be able to be a kid. You know, this God thing is not good. God
right,
is taking
right,
me away from everything fun. Like
right. And
this
that's what happened. That's what
yes,
happened with them.
yes.
So Elijah, he come and he's like, basketball. Dad's an assistant coach for a basketball. What? I wanted to be in basketball. You didn't come to my basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know basketball. You know, so it's like things like that, or like Amina being in dance, and we make time for that. Like,
Yes.
you know, where before, like, we didn't have time for all that. We was working, we was trying to build, and now we're at like this maintenance life where like we've attained. So now we really get to see like, wow, like,
Yes.
okay, we need to be more present.
I love that. I love that. I
Right,
think that's very honest. And I think that's the thing that a lot of parents
right,
struggle with being present because it's hard.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Right, it
And it's
is.
hard to
It's
have balance.
exhausting.
You know what
It's
I'm saying?
exhausting, girl. I was at Chuck E. Cheese last night. Like, really, guys? I just worked. I got off of work at 4:30, and we was out the door 15 minutes later to be at Chuck E. Cheese till 7. Like,
Yes.
I would never have done that before. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
I understand the importance of being a present parent, and really, like, I went to the store and I bought puzzles, and like, because I took the kids' phones away because I just
Yeah.
felt like they were getting too,
Oh, too much into technology. Yes.
yeah, you know, so the tablets and the TV and all that, I'm like, nah. So now I say, you know what, we should do some puzzles or
Yeah,
do
that's
some board
good.
games, and like build more emotional intelligence so that they can, because they've been struggling with, you know, self-regulation, my 12 and 13-year-old.
Yes.
So I say, you know what? You read about that. You having problems
Yes.
expressing? Right. We're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna learn what patience is. We're gonna
I
sit
love
down
that.
and we're gonna figure out critical thinking, because
Hmm.
electronics don't allow for that.
No. And
Yeah.
I think too many parents just let their kids be raised by the technology and
Right,
the
because it's
phones
easy
and
babysitting. Girl, they in the thing, they quiet.
they quiet. That's what it is.
We took those phones away a month and a half ago. And when I tell you that I have been like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? They all in my face, all in my room. And I say, you know what? This is what they need. So
Yes.
I just make space for it.
No, I love that. I love that. Even with my little one, I've been like, give me that phone. I need to
Right,
talk to you. Or give me that. Yeah, I've been doing that. Give me that phone thing, you know?
right,
Because I think that's so important for their growth and to know that it's not about all technology and
right,
quiet time. One of the things that helped me, I was raised as an only child. So it was like, always quiet in my house. You know, I was
right,
raised.
right.
And then I was like, I read, you know, I learned how to
I
find peace within
know. I
myself.
love reading and journaling
Yes.
and things like, it's like you take a step back. And
Yes.
for them, because of the technology and it's instant, they don't know how to wait for a response. So they don't know how to just sit still,
Yeah.
learn where are you feeling those emotions at? Where is that coming from? What's the trick?
Yeah.
And now that's what they're getting. So my 12-year-old was like, you know, I think I think I'm mean. I think I just I don't know how to
Oh.
talk to people. You know, I really struggle with that. And I say, okay, so
That's good. She's recognizing some things
right,
about herself. Yeah.
right, right. And a
And I
lot of
think that's important
adults,
that they begin to recognize who they are, and that we don't, you know,
right,
uh, Yeah, that we don't coddle them in a way that just
Right,
gives them everything they want when they want it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Because how are they going to see, their own, be able to recognize themselves and what they do?
Exactly. And even like in the church, we always shouting, we always
Mm-hmm.
yelling and screaming, and all that is great in its place, but do we really like wait for a response? Do we know how to sit still
It's
in God's
good.
presence? And even when he's not talking, like this is
Yeah.
not a filler time for the piano and the organ. This is a time for us to just sit and hear him and feel him. And
Mm-hmm.
and we really struggle with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then you internalize not feeling God as he doesn't care about you. But then that goes into the belief system that you have
Yeah.
about yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So a lot of the gaps that we have in our society, really the church, this is like a perfect opportunity for the church to like step up and provide information and provide
Mm-hmm.
support, so that and let us really be honest. Like, can we really be honest and come to this altar and
Mm-hmm.
and trust in the leadership
Yes.
with this burden that I'm carrying without it being exposed, without it being
Mm-hmm. So
turned
good.
and gossiped on, like that we create trauma in the church, and this is
Mm-hmm.
our safe place. But a lot of that comes from us not being healed within our ego. A lot of that comes from not being healed within our own hurts, and we perpetuate that within the church. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And
yes,
I
so
know
true.
for me, I went through that journey, and which is why I'm like very vocal about my personal experiences. I have the Overcomers podcast, is the
Yes.
podcast that I just started in January, and it's literally my journal, right? And I just want to show people that it doesn't matter what your title is, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished, it doesn't matter who you are. You go through just like regular people
That's
go.
right.
So it's important for us within the church to share our
Mm-hmm.
stories, so that people don't feel like they can't attain something, or like, we turn our noses up.
Yeah.
We don't allow
We get
real
real
healing to
self-righteous.
happen. Right.
Yeah.
But we heal in community. And if we're in a
Yeah.
church, we should be here healing
Yes.
with our walls down, not having post-traumatic stress disorder because we're being hyper vigilant. Who's gonna stab me in my back next? Who's gonna
Mm-hmm.
say something about this? You know what? Like, yeah, we all make mistakes, girl. This a hospital. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna have liars.
Yes.
Prostitutes, we're going to have adulterers, but this is the space where we teach new patterns, not
I love that. I love that. Teach new patterns. I love that.
right.
I want to talk about your marriage, because
Yeah.
here I am. I know I'm in a season that I'm hoping to get married soon. I know God has promised that to me. So,
Yes,
so I'm
girl,
in my
that's the desires of your heart.
yes, right. I'm in my season where I'm about to manifest marriage.
Amen.
But and I've been divorced, so I've been married. So I
Right.
do kind of know a little bit about it. But you guys have had a successful marriage, and I
Successful
know
and
there's
long,
ups and
girl.
downs to everything.
Right.
Epiphanies in your marriage, things that you would definitely say, like, I went through this, and this was
Right.
advice I would give anybody who's in their season of marriage.
Right. So when my husband and I met, we were kids. I was 17, even though I lied. I told him I was 18. And he was a single dad. He had
Mm-hmm.
Elijah, who was 1. And my husband has, an amazing testimony.
Yes.
And, he grew up fatherless.
I'm gonna get him next month to tell his
Right.
testimony. So I
Yes.
got him down.
Yeah. He was in foster care.
Yeah.
His mother was on drugs,
Yeah.
and he really just kind of he had a rough start.
Yeah.
When he had Elijah, he really wanted to be a present dad. He really wanted to learn what it was to have like a family. So I kind of came in right in the beginning, but we wasn't really serious or
Right.
whatever. But we ended up finding out that I was pregnant with Debbie, and maybe I was 20. So 2 years later, we we did get married, but we did that without being healed. You know, I had my own trauma, and he had his, but we really desired to make a family. So when we got married, we were young and we lived in New York. After we let me see, 9 months into our marriage, we separated. And I went back to my mom's house, and I had came home to get some stuff, and I was out of the house maybe for like 3 weeks. But I went back to the house, and we had a heart to heart. And because I was getting ready to move to Georgia, girl. I was trying to South. I want to get out of New York.
Right.
And we sat on the bed, and he said, let's pick a state. If we stay in New York, let this marriage be destroyed because of us, not because of people. You know, his family, friends, and all of that. And so we sat on the bed. He went like this, picked the state, and it landed on Connecticut. Even though I still wanted to go to Georgia, he was like, listen, I'm on probation.
Yes.
Because my husband was, you know, one of them rough dudes.
Yes.
He said, so I can't go that far. I don't want to transfer everything over. So we came to Connecticut. And I'm telling you, we moved to Connecticut. We didn't know anybody. It was income tax time. We took most of the money from the income tax. That was when we used to get money back.
Right.
We don't even know what that's like anymore.
Right.
And we paid up the rent for like 3 months. We had like $2,000 to our pocket. We moved up here. I got a welfare, got them food stamps, girl, got some cash.
Yes.
Kind of lived off of that for 2 months. And then we both got jobs, and we was just building blocks all the way.
Wonderful.
And there were certain parts. So Genesis came in 2003. And during that time, my husband was still, so from our marriage up until that point, he was struggling. You know, he was cheating, acting stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So he thought a wedding was gonna cure him.
Fix that. It doesn't. Yes.
It doesn't. You got some issues.
Yes.
And you got to be honest about.
Yes.
So it wasn't until 2003, or actually 2002, that he we were at another pivotal point where we were gonna go our separate ways, and this time we let God in. And God came into our room, girl, and he had already like prepared me for what was coming.
Yes.
You know, we ain't stupid, we know.
Yes.
And me and him had a heart to heart. He was totally open, and we made changes to this pattern that we kept falling into. And I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay, please.
So then when he decided that, when we both decided that we were going to stick this out, and we had like we created boundaries. And Genesis is called Genesis because she was the beginning of our marriage.
I love that.
And then after that, you know, we opened up the church in 2005, and we just started growing within the context of the church. Like God was very prevalent and very important for our growth, and we needed to ensure that if God wasn't in this, then we were going to slack within ourselves. Within our own journey, and we were going to mess up. Our egos was going to take over, and we were going to be back in the same place again. And that's how it's been. We've been married 22 years. We just celebrated 22 years last week. Woo, 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 woo. He's still alive because I ain't kill him yet.
Yes.
But even still, I think it was important for us to learn boundaries, to fight fair. Like, it's okay to be mad, and it's okay. We're not going to agree on a lot of areas and a lot of things, but that's okay.
Right.
He needs his space. I need my space. And what I really love about my husband is that he allowed me to grow, because, you know, we were kids when we started. So he allowed me to grow and become who I've become. but I've done the same for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important within a relationship. Is
Yes,
that
yes.
grow and be yourself and be represented within the relationship, then you're gonna sneak around. Then you're gonna not show up in the relationship, and things they die out. So I'm very grateful for the love that the Lord has given me through my husband. And I feel like I could say the same thing about my love for him.
That's right. That's right.
But it really is about just keeping communication. Like my daughter says, how because we be in the house and play around and kissing and hugging and stuff. And she's like, don't y'all get sick of each other? Like y'all been together all this time. Don't you? This new generation of kids don't know about, being with one person. Now we got marriages, open relationships, fluidity, whatever. But I said to my husband, like, listen, I'm from the old school. I'm good with the one. And we had that conversation because it's like, this is really a thing. Like open marriages is really a thing.
It is.
So I said, just to read.
Not my thing, no. But,
right. Not my thing. So I said to him, I just got to read the fine. I got to see if we still on the same page.
Yes.
I ain't with open relationships. Right. So I'm just saying, and he was like, what are you talking about? Ain't nobody being open. I said, just in case, because, this is like the new thing.
Yes.
And it's like, it's just a lot of changes. I'm like, even dating now, like being online dating, like, girl, we met at 9 West in Manhattan.
But, I will say this, online dating is just the thing now. It's the way you meet people, because it's not like, and then I'm not in New York anymore. When you in New York, people stop you. They tell you they want you.
Right. But here it's like everything's so isolated.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not good with this new, like, I'm glad that I was born when I was born.
Yes.
I like, I guess I'm old.
No. I love the fact that you guys have weathered the storm, stuck it out, had heart to hearts, been through the worst of it, and you decided to stay together. I think people think marriages, I hear so many people say, if my wife did this, I wouldn't stay, or if my husband did this, to stay. It's not that.
It's about growing together.
Yeah.
And I think that, and it's like we each come to redefining points throughout our whole life. Like the whole relationship, it was like, this was a check-in time. Like, we need to sit down and things need to shift. Like, first of all, we started out with 2 kids. Now we are 6.
Yeah.
When I first got married, I said, oh, I'm Spanish. So I was like, oh, you don't got, I'll cook, I'll clean.
Yeah.
Clothes, And that was okay when it was 2 kids, but we got 6. Like, I'm sorry, honey, we're gonna get this maid.
That's right.
This help cleaning company. She's gonna come every 2 weeks, and I'm just gonna enjoy not needing to clean when I'm off. Like, I just want to relax.
Yes.
Even if I'm just laying on my bed doing nothing.
That's right.
I don't want to clean because it's a lot of us in the house, So it's like things like that. Like, you have to check in. When I wanted to go for my master's, I was pregnant with Mia. I was literally 6 months pregnant with Mia, and I started a master's program. Wow. And my husband, at that time, we had our own business. So it was, we had our own business. So hold on one second. Here, my son he got basketball, and he I'm crazy.
Yes.
So I said to him, like, he said to me, don't even worry about school. I mean, don't even worry about the kids. I'm gonna stay home with the kids, and you go to school. And he legit did that. Shemi, because they're only 13 months apart. So Shemi was a baby, and then you got a newborn, and he was home with them and holding the rest of them down. And that's just how we did it.
I love it. It's really like a partnership. You know what I'm saying? It really has to be a partnership. I'm into gender roles in a way, because I think there's certain things a man should do and a woman should do.
I just said that. We got gender roles in my house. I do not take out the garbage.
That's right.
I do lawn work. I no.
No.
Inside the house, you go outside.
Yes, exactly. I love that, I believe in the role, but I also feel like there's a point in your relationship where one has to sacrifice for another. And it may not be comfortable, right?
Right.
But I think, marriage is a selfless thing. And I think some people forget that. Like, giving each other agency when needed. And sometimes I'm not going to have the power. Sometimes you got to take over. Sometimes I'm taking over. Really working to each other's strengths,
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
In the church, my husband is not a detail-oriented person at all. He's like a visionary. So we speak things, and if you don't catch the vision, you left.
Yes.
So that's how it is in the house too. The kids know, don't ask daddy for like details of what day and time and all. He's not gonna, you go to mommy for that.
Right.
He's gonna be the one to show up. Like today is basketball. And he's the coach, and look at the time. As 7 o'clock is the basketball, but dad's not here. So that's when my son is like, what about all antsy and stuff. But my husband, it just goes over his head,
Right. I love it though. I love the way you guys work together and accept one another for who you guys are.
Right.
And for change. I think a lot of people get divorced because things shift and they're not able to go along with that shift.
So I thought that when I made my shift after I healed of cancer, there was a lot of ideologies, a lot of thought patterns, a lot of ways that I could not go back to that.
That's so good.
There was a way of that I pastored that I could not go back to.
So good.
And there were boundaries that I had already set when I was going through the cancer journey, that it was like everybody was like ready for me to go back, fall back into position. And I had the conversation with him, like, I can't do that. Like, I can't go that way. And I had said to him, sometimes I feel like Lot and his wife, into a pillar of salt, because he's trying to go here. And she's like, I don't know if I want to go there.
Right.
I had the conversation with him, like, what this is a redefining point that we need to sit at, because you're doing too much. And we're at the age now where we need to just step back some and teach the people how to take the lead in a lot of these areas, because we're not like we were in 2005. And my husband really needed to start being more present too in the house. The kids were really requiring a lot of things. And I feel like, and I was afraid that this person who I was kind of beginning to learn and love was not going to be very much accepted. And there have been people that, stepped away and say, oh, you're not going to do what you used to do.
That's okay.
Come like you used to come. Then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not that person anymore. So in marriage, it's the same way. So I'm excited that my husband's still on for the ride with me, and the ride with him for him, and every new vision he got, I'm right here, writing it down, manifesting it with him.
I love it.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of work,
Yes, I think the best things in life do take a lot of work, right? And it's not easy. The journey is not easy, but it's worth it in the end, right?
And we're equipped for it.
Yes.
I might not do what you've been able to do and overcome because it wasn't for me. And you might not be able to do what I did and overcame because it wasn't for you. God gives us a measure of faith, and he gives us enough strength to overcome whatever it is, whatever portion we get. Then once we get it, we get another one. We get more of an increase of whatever it is that we have. And look at all we've accomplished, girl, from New York over here now, just living it up.
Yes. I love the fact
that coming, girl, that husband coming. He is finding his wife.
Yes. Yes, I believe it. I received it, girl.
Right.
I just want to say too that I love the fact that you deal with mental health and deal with the spiritual side and dealing with the whole body. I remember that I was speaking to God one day, and just, it's in one of my moments where I talk to God. I'm like, God, about this. And he's like, Shauna, I don't want you. you know, I think that we think as Christians that we just could nitpick. Okay, I'm just going to focus on this for now.
Right.
Focus on this. And I remember God telling me, I need you to focus on your whole self, not just your body, not just this. You think that this part of your life is missing, so that way everything is torn apart. No.
Right.
You know, it's a holistic picture, right? The relationships you have with people, the relationships you have with your children, the relationships you have with yourself, right? The relationship you have with me, how, you know, everything kind of goes right. Because think about it. The nastiest people, I always say that people who are the nastiest and meanest, they can't have a good relationship with God. What kind of relationship they gonna have with God if we serve a God of love, but yet you can't treat people right?
Right.
No,
I get it. And we are, healing is holistic.
Yes.
You can't just focus on your body and what you eat and not focus on how you speak. Yes. Right. And how you apply the Bible. And then where you at with your self-care and mental health. Certain foods that we eat, like carbs, sugar, like all the crappy foods, all the empty calorie foods actually affects our mood. We become more depressed, we become more sluggish, more like
so true.
You know, angry, irritable. Like, stop drinking coffee for 3 days. You will be the ugliest person. Because your body that's a drug, you know?
Right.
So when you I mean, that mind-body connection is already in the works just by eliminating certain foods. And then when you allow yourself to like process your emotions and your mental health and your feelings and the things that you're dealing with, then, you know, when you do movement and you exercise, like those are natural endorphins, and all the happy hormones start working, and your body is like a machine. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting the food and exercise, I'm getting self-care and mental health and sleep. And then, you know, you put in the Bible in there and spiritual growth, and you start seeing God open the word through your lifestyle.
Yes.
So when you do it for your lifestyle, then you start dealing with people. So you're not going to be mean to people because, one, you're not being mean to yourself, and you're learning the principles for yourself. And then you activate it and you walk out in them with people. So everything is like holistic.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Everything is spirit, soul, body.
Yes. I want to take you back to a moment that I noticed. I remember when I was praying for you. I remember we was talking a little bit, and I was praying. I said, God, you can't let this lady down, because she believes she's going to overcome. She believes she's going to be healed. I remember watching a video of you and your husband shaving your head together.
Oh my gosh, that was so emotional, right?
It was so emotional for me, you know, just thinking about it. I'm getting tears in my eyes, right? And I was like, but God, look at that smile on her face. You know what I'm saying? Look at the way she knows she's going to overcome. I want you to speak to people right now that maybe are dealing with cancer. Maybe they're dealing with other issues. Maybe they deal with trauma. What could you say to them to tell them that if they just believe, because belief is a half of the. If they have the faith, I mean, if you have a faith the size of a mustard seed, you can tell that mountain to move and the mountain will be moved. I believe that, right? If they have that faith that they can move any mountain, that they can really overcome the situation
So the first step is just accepting what my journey looks like for me. And this is where we're at, you know? I had cancer. I had to kind of own it. And now it was like, what am I going to do to overcome this? So for me, I had to learn how to change my diet. I had to learn how to, you know, let the unforgiveness go. I had to learn, like, for me, it was just what it was. For me, it was, I went to yoga. You know, a lot of people in the church ain't went to yoga. That's fine. But I was doing it for my movement.
I like yoga. I love
the yoga, girl.
Yes. That hot yoga ain't no joke. You ever been to
I did hot yoga 5 days a week. When I tell you that,
girl, that is serious.
My body, because that's all detox, and that's what my lymphatic system was what was full of cancer, and I needed that help to push me through. So that's why I would do hot yoga to detox and get all those toxins out of my body. But the thing is that when I accepted the lot that was given to me, the path that was set for me, I found gratitude in it.
Yes.
So instead of me, putting all this negative energy into, like, a lot of people be like, F cancer and this and that, like all this anger. I used to be like, no, I'm not even entertaining or engaging that negative energy, because right now I need all the positive energy as possible.
Yes.
And you just have to own whatever it is that God wants for you. And if you believe at the end of this that you're going to be healed, then you're going to be healed.
That's right.
Because death and life is in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And what is the lesson that you need to learn out of this situation? And that's a personal conviction. That's a personal, like, I can give advice, I can give insight for what I went through, but really it's personal. Some people wouldn't do chemo. And initially that wasn't my go-to. I wasn't going to start chemo first, because I know that for me, it was a process of elimination that needed to take place first. And, but chemo was not off the table. When I did decide to do chemo, it was my decision. And a lot of people who were holistic, they couldn't continue the journey with me. But I had to own my journey, because I knew this is where I needed to go. So you can't depend on people through this process. You just got to depend on what is your why? Why are you here? What are you doing here? And it's a personal conviction and a personal story that you have to tell yourself.
So good. So good. I love it. I love it. I've been inspired by you. I hope that when people watch it and then we do the replays, people will be inspired by you. Tell them, I know you have podcasts. Tell them what the name of it is and where they can find you.
Yes. So I have a podcast. It's called the Overcomers Podcast. It's streaming on Spotify, and it's streaming on Apple Podcasts. So you can go and then if you go on the Overcomers Podcast Facebook, I'm there too.
Yes.
And you can get it on my Facebook. And Spirit Soul Body Clinical Services is my private practice. You can go, I have a podcast tab on my website that you can get that. But I love it. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want people to heal and know that every journey is here for you to overcome. And people shouldn't be so discouraged that they're like, oh, I'm such a mess, I got so much more layers. Like, listen, take it one bite at a time.
That's right.
And as we do it one bite at a time, you overcame that piece and that piece and that piece. And
I love it.
It's our journey till we leave this body. Okay.
I love it. It's nothing like seeing somebody who needed healing become a healer. But that to me says so much. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I love what you're doing. I'm inspired by your story. I'm so proud of what God has done for you and your family.
Yes.
Give your hug and kisses to my brother.
I will.
I'm gonna have him next month, so I'll be reaching out to him. Because his story is amazing. So I can't wait for you guys to hear his story, which is totally amazing for what he's come from and what he's been able to do with his life. Thank you for being my guest. Stay tuned, guys. We have so many other great guests this month. And we'll be replaying some of these pieces so people can find out about you and everything that is so great.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Be blessed, everyone.
Yes. Bye.